That sounds great. Well, we will go ahead and get started. We'd like to welcome Roger Sloan to the virtual press conference here at the Hewlett Packard Enterprise Houston Open. Roger, thanks for joining us for a few minutes. Canadian by birth, I understand, but this is kind of a home game for you this week. So if we could just get a few opening thoughts on being here when you're getting to sleep in your own bed at night as well.
Yeah, I think it's really underrated, sleeping in your own bed. Professional golf is life on the road, so it's nice to sleep on your own bed, cook some home-cooked meals, hang out with family and the neighbors, and let the kids run around. Honestly, it brings on a new set of challenges because you're sitting there at home and it kind of resembles an off week, but at the same time you have to stay disciplined to, do your preparations to be ready on Thursday.
What about your third start in the event, but first time here at Memorial Park? What do you know about it? Have you played much here prior to this week?
Yeah, I've only played here one time. It was in preparation for last year's tournament. I didn't quite get in on my number last year. I don't come into the city much to play golf, so other than that one time, I haven't been able to play out here. I'm excited to play out here. I think this is a really good switch for the tournament to be a little bit more centrally located in Houston. You obviously have more of the cultural scene down here in this area. So it highlights Houston for the players, the caddies, and I think you're going to get, a lot more hype and fan interaction throughout the week with the location here. Obviously, the golf course, it's different. And I think the players are going to get used to it. It's going to take a couple of years to get used to it, but it presents a really good challenge. And look at the field this week. It's another tremendous field here to kind of finish off the season.
Okay, I've got one more question. Before I ask that, just a reminder to everybody on the call, if you would please type your name into the meeting chat function on the right-hand side to let me know you have a question. I will call on you. That's easier than seeing the raise icon. So, Roger, one more question for me. If I could work in reverse and take you back. You come off a sixth place finish in Reno. Takes you to win the narrowly missed with the playoff loss there, but enough to get inside the top 125 and into the playoffs. If you could just kind of take us back to that part, what was going right for you so well those couple of weeks in your game, and how does that translate to how you're feeling this week?
I think, one, I'm very comfortable on those golf courses. You got Greenwood and Truckee, where we finished sixth. You're talking about just the terrain and the landscape there is very similar to where I grew up in British Columbia, in the mountains. It's a Nicklaus golf course, just very familiar. It felt like I was at home, really. So just, you're very comfortable that week. And that, I played well that week, and obviously you ride that momentum going into the next week. Wyndham was a really huge week for us, to be honest with you, because, we had so much on the line. I think if you actually bounce back a few weeks earlier, I was at Minnesota. I think I had the first round lead in Minnesota, and I was always within one or two shots of the lead for the entire tournament until 16 on Sunday. And, I think I finished 13th or 15th. And in that moment, I spent better part of 3.5 rounds in contention with a chance to win. And I left that week a little disappointed that I didn't have a better showing, but I knew from that moment that it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And I was able to kind of ride that confidence, go into Truckee, like you said, finish sixth. So now I'm in a position in the Wyndham Championship where, I was really relaxed all week because, we were fine with wherever we stood. We were either going to go to Boise for the Korn Ferry Finals, or we were going to go to New York for the the FedEx Cup playoffs. It was really interesting, actually. I was sitting on the 14th hole on Sunday. I've told the story many times. I'm sitting on the 14th hole on Sunday, and there's a leaderboard in front, and I'm not really looking at the leaderboard. I got my own stuff going on. I'm trying to keep my card. And I see a friend of mine, Nick Taylor, he posted it around. I think at the time, he posted at 12, and it was like, at the time, T13. And so I knew at that moment, so he's at minus 12, I'm at minus 13 at the time. So I know with 5 holes to go, if I make 2 bogeys, I'm going to Boise. And if I make 2 birdies, I have a chance to win the golf tournament. And I mean, there's just the weight of all of that was so great that all of a sudden it just forced me to just think, I can only control the next shot. And I was able to hit some really good quality shots coming in. And because of that, we made 2 birdies, and next thing you know, I'm in a playoff, and it was a good way to finish the year, go to the playoffs. And I think right now, to answer your question, long-winded response to your question, how that sets up for this week, kind of very similar. We don't have a whole lot to lose here going into the off season. I got 2 events. I got this one, and I got Sea Island coming up. We're playing again on Bermuda greens. Very familiar with that. So. You just kind of have that same relaxed approach as, doesn't really matter what happens in the next couple of weeks. We got an off season coming up and we can gear up for Hawaii.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, we'll take a few questions, and thank Richard Dean. Richard, is that, you have a question up there, Richard? You can take yourself off mute, turn the camera on, and you're good to go.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, Roger. Question I'm going to ask you about is just talk about for yourself, and actually all tour players, but mainly for yourself, just the importance of playing in the fall schedule and getting a jump start on those FedEx Cup points.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, especially a great opportunity for the guys in the reshuffle category to get some solid starts under the belt, go up in the reshuffle category. I don't put a whole lot of importance on where you are in the FedEx Cup. It's a long season. Obviously, a great opportunity, to have some great finishes and kind of get a little bit of a jump start. But again, the season is so long, and you just got to take it one tournament at a time, and you don't really worry too much about where you are on the FedEx Cup at this point in the season.
Okay. Also, how long have you lived in Houston, and what part of the Houston area do you live in?
So I've lived in Houston since I graduated university in 2009. My wife's originally from Houston. So when we both graduated university from El Paso, she moved back home, I followed. So I've pretty much been here for the better part of 12 years. It's home for me. Her family lives here. We got 2 kids here. We're starting our own family. So, Houston's home, and we love it.
Is there a certain club you play out of?
So I'm a member at the 2 clubs. I live up in Cypress, so I've joined the clubs of Houston Oaks, and then I've been a longstanding member at Royal Oaks. But I predominantly do a lot of my practice out at Houston Oaks. It's a great new club out there.
Okay. Thanks, Roger.
Okay, next question comes from John McCarthy with the Toronto Sun. John, go ahead.
Hey, Roger, you got me?
Oh yeah, look at this Canadian.
I know I got my winter jacket on here. You already talked a bit about the clutch run to end last season, but what did you learn about yourself or about your game through that stretch that maybe you didn't already know?
I think, to be honest with you, if you want a really good answer, it's probably that, that you don't need to play perfect to win out here. I think you kind of put it on a pedestal a little bit that you gotta be super perfect. I mean, at Wyndham, I left a lot of shots out there that week, but if you just step up and you just play your game, give yourself the best chance to get out of your own way and show up as frequently as you can. You're going to compete more often than you're not. So that was really neat to learn that you don't have to be as perfect as you think.
Mm-hmm. And the Canadian, sort of almost a non-golf question, the Canadian-U.S. land borders have just opened. So there's going to be a lot of Canadians heading south. What's it been like the past year and a half as a Canadian living in Houston? And are the neighbors still talking about your backyard skating rink from last winter?
Yeah, I guess everyone needs a Canadian in their neighborhood when the freeze comes. Yeah, that's still talked about. Honestly, it's been really tough. It's been very tough. I haven't been back to Canada since the pandemic started. I got a soon-to-be 2-year-old son. He's never been to Canada, and it's really tough. I've had 2 grandparents pass away in the last 8 months, and not being able to go home right away and go see my family in those moments is really difficult. So I'm thankful that I got my wife's family down here, a great support group, but there's a lot of people that, you know, this pandemic has affected cross border, and, you know, the ability to just freely come and go. You know, it's not like it used to be. So, you know, there's a lot of people negatively affected by it. A lot of people still negatively affected by it, and it's tough. It is. It's very difficult. So it's something that, you know, we just have to make an adjustment for. And you know, I really look forward to the time where, you know, our whole entire family can take some time and go enjoy everything that Canada has to offer.
That's great. Good luck this week, Roger.
Thanks.
Okay, we stay in Canada and go now to Bob Weeks with TSN. Bobby, good to see you. Well, I don't see you.
Good to see you. Hello there. Roger, you said, actually, Adam said a couple weeks ago, he said that during the course of the year, one swing, one shot, one stroke, one FedEx Cup point can mean a lot when you get to the end of the year. Do you think about that at this stage of the schedule, or are you just kind of saying, I'm just going to go out and play?
I mean, the only thing I'm thinking about right now is what's that thing on your upper lip? I mean, that thing is dirty. That is nasty.
It's Movember, baby.
No, that's good to see you growing it out. You know, yeah, I think at the end of the year, you can look back at the FedEx Cup and see the implications of what 1 point or one shot mean. But I mean, I don't think you can really focus on that while you're out there. You know, it's totally out of your control. I mean, you saw what happened with Chesson Hadley this year. I mean, he had a hole-in-one. He shoots a tremendous round on Sunday, but it wouldn't have got it done without Justin Rose missing that short putt on 18. So, you know, there's a lot of things in those scenarios that are way out of your control. So, you know, you really want to focus on what you can control, and that's each and every week preparing and playing your best, and, you know, and learning from experiences, because no matter who you are, you're going to have an event where on the last hole or the last several holes, you might let it slide. But you use those experiences, you learn from them, so that the next time you're in that position, maybe you make a birdie and all of a sudden you know you make a few more points. So, you know, it's just about learning and staying in the present.
So when you're not in the hunt for a win, is it still important for you to turn those 50ths into 40ths and 40ths into 30ths?
Well, you know, honestly, I kind of contribute that a little bit to like my Canadian background, a little bit blue collar. And I just never give up. You know, I was a third line grinder type of hockey player, you know, so it was just, I never give up. It doesn't matter whether I'm teeing it up on Sunday in 65th or whether I'm teeing it up, you know, 5th. I'm going to put a solid effort in, and I'm never going to give up. I'm always going to put my best foot forward. That's just, you know, honestly, it's just kind of the Canadian or even the Sloan way. And, you know, I think that mentality is what helps you sneak out on the better side of some of those, you know, point differentials.
And just very quickly, are you bringing any of the Canadian guys over to your house for dinner this week? Or are you giving them restaurant recommendations?
We got a few of the Canadian guys coming over tonight throughout the week. We'll, you know, we'll have some good steaks. We'll have some good wine. We'll hang out with the kids. It's, yeah, it's going to be a good week.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Shawn Martin with PGAtour.com.
Just curious if there's any good story of how you ended up at UTEP from Canada.
Sorry, I didn't catch the first part of that.
Is there any good story of how you ended up at UTEP?
Ooh, yeah, there actually really is a really good story. Did you really want to hear it?
I think, yes.
Now you do. Okay, believe it or not, so as a Canadian, you don't really know what's going on with the United States, college programs and how many colleges and university athletic programs they have going on. So as a Canadian, I'm growing up like here in like, you know, the Floridas, the Arizona States, the Oklahoma States. So here I am as a 17-year-old kid writing all these letters to these massive programs. I haven't really done much as a junior golfer, and I'm sending these letter offs, and I'm getting all the generic responses. You know, thanks for your interest, but we've already committed for your graduating class. So I go, I think as a 17-year-old to the Canadian Junior Championship, and I haven't had a single look from a university, and I want to get a Division I scholarship. There'd been a few players within my little area of British Columbia that had actually committed and gone to play at the University of Texas at El Paso, and so it was always in the back of my head, I would really like to go there because a few of these older guys that I always looked up to were going there. But I never wanted to write a letter because I didn't want to get a rejection letter. I just didn't want to have that final no. So I'm at the Canadian Junior Championship, and I'm on the 7th hole. I still remember it. I was at Marine Drive in Vancouver, and out of nowhere, the UTEP coach literally comes walking out of the hedges onto the tee box. And he's got, you know, he's got one of his mates with him, and he's got a UTEP hat on, and I knew right away that was Rick Todd. And he watches for a few holes and then takes off. Come to find out, what had actually happened was a member at his course that he was a member at knew a kid that was playing in my group, and he convinced Rick to come watch this kid, and it was very apparent after a few holes he was not interested in that kid, and he saw a couple shots of mine, and he reached out afterwards, and that's kind of how it came to be. So for me wanting to go to that university and follow in the footsteps of the couple of the older kids that I looked up to, and then to have him literally, kind of come out of the bushes, it was just, just a very, very surreal moment. It was very cool.
Had you been to Texas before that?
I'd never been to Texas. I'd never really seen or talked to a Mexican in my life. And I go to El Paso, and there's obviously a large Hispanic culture there, and which makes El Paso what it is. I mean, it's such, it's very family orientated. I really enjoyed my 4 years in El Paso. Just, the Hispanics there, just, they're incredible people. It's a small town community. And, but, just kind of joking, I've never had Mexican food before. Like I said, never spoken Spanish, and, I go to El Paso, and it's pretty Spanish orientated around there.
And then the stats would suggest that your big jump from 2020 into last season was the ball striking stats really improved. Was there something different you did with your swing, or a new instructor, or anything behind that?
No, I've been working with the same instructor since I turned pro in 2009. It's been I've always actually been a fairly good ball striker, but I kind of get in my own way a little bit. So I would actually attribute a lot of it to a little bit more work from the mental side of things. Just kind of getting out of my own way is really the simple term of what we've been able to accomplish. Having a little bit of freedom, and ultimately giving myself access to my skills more frequently than I have in the past.
So being less hard on yourself?
No, not necessarily. Just sometimes I get caught up in the magnitude of the situation. I can go down the storylines of, what that shot represents or what a good finish that week represents. So I get caught up in the magnitude of it, how much money you could make, or how many FedEx Cup points I could make, and what that's going to do for, maybe that'll get me into the invitational tournaments. And, meanwhile, I'm just sitting in the middle of the 16th fairway with a 6-iron in my hand, and I've gone down this this pipeline of all these thoughts, and it just builds the shot up too much to where now it's not a 6-iron anymore. Now it's the most crucial shot I've ever hit in my career. So just being able to separate myself from the storylines and just really turning a 6-iron into a 6-iron.
That obviously helped last season down the stretch.
Oh, big time. Yeah, I mean, you look at my finish there at the Wyndham, trying to qualify for the FedEx Cup playoffs, trying to win a golf tournament all on the back nine. The magnitude of all that situation, and to be able to separate that and just focus in on each individual shot just kind of shows you that the work that we're putting in is, we're starting to get a little bit of fruit on the vines now.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, we may have one more. Ian, do you have a question? I may have seen a hand raise icon come up. If not, you can remain silent. Going once, going twice. Okay, well, Roger, we will let you go. We appreciate your time as always, and wish you the best of luck this week.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.